Yeah, so I'm gonna pass it around, but right now it's not glued down, and I'll explain why it's not in a second. But like, basically, this background is gonna be the border, and you guys can like pass it around so you can see it close. Yeah, so my inspiration for this project came partially from the posters that were coming out of the psychedelic 60s. I actually did that. I looked into that aesthetic for our one of our initial assignments, and I just really like the aesthetic of like really close together lines that kind of like move in waves. I don't know, it's just a thing I really like. In fact, I think I'm wearing a shirt right now that has it. Like, it's just, yeah, I really like it. And then the other inspirations were I found all these like laser cut mandala pieces, and I just liked the idea of making like a really complex artwork that's like super symmetrical, and you know that type of stuff is made possible quite easily with a laser cutter. And I had never used a laser cutter before, so I was really interested in kind of trying to achieve that geometry a little bit. Yeah, so I would say my ideal versus actual design process, they're really similar, only with my actual design process, the big difference is that it's a little bit more generalized, and like I don't really think much about my process when I am doing it. This step, the execute multiple design iterations step, it kind of encompasses most of what I do. I tend to just like make a lot of things, and hopefully one thing comes out and just looks nice. So, well, especially when it comes to like graphic design, which is how this was created. So yeah, so I basically, at first I thought I was gonna do it in Rhino, so I started doing all these kind of weird experimental shapes in Rhino. I would use a function called array polar, which basically you can take like a line or something like that and put it around in a circle. And then I basically made a design very similar to this in Rhino with array polar, which I just got like a circle and I repeated it in a circle, and but for whatever reason this one function, this split function, wasn't working for me in Rhino, so I ended up having to basically do the same thing but learn how to do it in Illustrator. So I started to make these like sort of mandala type shapes in Illustrator, just seeing what I ended up liking. And yeah, I learned how to set up a symmetry in Illustrator to do that. So those are two more designs that I made to possibly laser cut. And then this was one of the last designs. I knew I was getting pretty close because I really liked sort of just the high contrast. I thought it would come out really well with the laser cut, because I had noticed that like one of my friends did a laser cut with a low contrast image, and you really couldn't like make out the details. But at the same time, as I was doing this project, I was also making an album cover for my like dubstep project, and I realized that this could actually look really cool as a laser cut. So I ended up basically changing the letters, the text to say it comes in waves, which is really just a reminder, it's like a personal reminder for me, like just like when it comes to life and how you know, life gets bad sometimes, but it gets better, and it's just kind of like, you know how like those people like put like the semicolons like on their hands or whatever, like to like be in solidarity for like, I don't know, like depression and suicide. It's kind of the same vibe I'm going for, but like my own personal twist on it, I guess. So yeah, so that was the final design. I had a lot of setbacks because I had never laser cut before, and so I had to do it at the BTU lab, but I set up 4 different appointments before somebody finally showed up to laser cut with me. So it took me like forever to actually do the laser cut. And also it was my 21st birthday on Saturday, so one of my friends spilled a bunch of water on our celebrations, which is part of the reason why I didn't glue it down to the board yet, because I was considering printing it because of that, but I mean, it might not be totally necessary. I also wasn't exactly sure which orientation I wanted yet, because I kind of liked it that way because it looks a little bit more like a wave, but if you turn it vertically, that was how it originally looked, you know, like this is the original vertical design, but it can go sideways instead, and I wasn't exactly sure which orientation I wanted to do yet, which is why it's not glued. But yeah, so yeah, functionally, I'd say my big problems are it's a bit bulky, and so hanging it up might be a little bit difficult. I need to figure out a way to like hang it up. I was sort of thinking about using like some old like chicken wire or like a hanger or something like that, and some tacks to make it happen. But I'm not really. I'm pretty new to digital fabrications. Well, not even just digital fabrication, but just like creating physical products in general. So I don't really know exactly how to do that yet, but I do need to figure out a way for that. And then artistically, I was happy that I ended up doing that I got kind of like the close together line aesthetic. And I kind of, I mean, the psychedelic 60s art movement is really known for having like colors that pop, but I kind of wanted to have this piece feel a little bit more homey and be a little bit like more in the background. I didn't want it to sort of like pop and be like cheesy. I sort of wanted it to like feel like it like fit in like a home setting, which is why I kept it sort of brown and like didn't paint anything on it. And I so in the original like with these laser cut mandalas, I really liked how they looked almost like 3D because there's like all these different like depths to the layers that they cut. And I wanted to do that. I wasn't exactly sure how, but I think I did achieve it at least a little bit with this, because that top layer is still there, and then the cuts like basically reveal the sort of bottom layer of the cardboard. So I was happy with that, and yeah. So pretty much what's next is gotta find a way to hang it up. I'm thinking about painting the border, but it might kind of ruin the aesthetic, so I'm not really sure if I want to do that yet, and I need to glue it down. So yeah, that's all I got.